is I was teaching notes, I was teaching rhythm, but we wasn't teaching clarity, and we wasn't teaching those elements, or I wasn't, I'm not saying we. I wasn't teaching those elements of sound that really delivers a piece of music with clarity. So I really had to dig in, and I found that I can do those things by teaching a march, because a lot of it is tongue placement, articulation. You know, tongue is a great destroyer of sound. I will say that's one thing that one of my college professors used to always tell us: learn to use the tongue properly, and you will deliver a clear tone. So one thing I do with my students before we start marches is I write on the board, and it's on the board in my band room right now. I guess our 4 or 5 articulations. Accents, how do you deliver an accent? What's the intensity of an accent? What's the weight of the tongue? How does the accent decay? Is it a full value note? Is it separated? Staccato, marcato, slurs, and I guess articulation I made up is just standard tongue. No articulation. How do you interpret that? How do you approach that? Okay, so do an exercise with me on a concert F. Just play a concert F pitch. On the board. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and. Okay, so we're gonna go through about 4 or 5 articulations. All right, and we'll try to be consistent at them. Just play 4 quarter notes using just a normal tongue. Da 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 da. Very light tongue. Let's say we're using a do syllable. Connect the sounds. Ready? 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, and. I will ask them not to let the note sag in between, keep a constant flow of air so we're not losing pitch, like right at the end of the note. Da, 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 da. So keep that air continuous. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and. Very good. I would ask for even a lighter tongue. Use a bit more air, but use much less tongue, okay? Let's give them a ratio. Maybe 80% air, 20% tongue. If that makes any sense at all. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and. Last time I heard all of the popping sounds that I may have heard randomly before kind of go away. So you just train them to not overemphasize the use of the tongue. You don't need the tongue. You've been using your tongue since birth. It's a well-developed muscle. You don't need that much, okay? So use much more air, use a lot less tongue, and then learn and be able to adjust the weight of the tongue, okay? Now, if that's a standard tongue, let's say an accent. What's the definition of an accent? Emphasis on the front of the note. Do not let the note decay. Everything is connected, okay? So full value quarter notes on an accent. So we should just a little more weight on the tongue. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and. All right, that might be too heavy, because once we get to the marcato, then we're really out of character. Okay, so lighten up on it. Just let it be more air emphasis than anything. Okay, so once again, let the air lead, and then you'll get the emphasis of sound. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and. Now let's combine first tongue, standard tongue, with an accent. So now we're going to play 4 quarter notes on the standard, 4 quarter notes on an accent. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and. Very good, very good. The next tongue would be staccato. Okay? How do we find the staccato? Short? No. I eliminate that, Light and detached. Light and detached. Okay? And you teach them the variations and the degree of detachment is based on the value of the note. Okay? This is detached, this is detached, this is detached, this is detached. A staccato 8th note will probably have a little bit more length than a staccato 16th note. The staccato quarter note will have more length. So I think if they approach it from the definition of short, quarter notes will sound like 8th notes will sound like 16th notes, all staccato. So there's no note value being heard through the articulation. So staccato quarter notes, just enough separation to establish detachment. That's it, okay? And a very light tongue. Ready? And 1, 2, ready, and. Very good. Now let's match on the left. There's 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, ready, and. Maybe lighter. 1, 2, 3, and. Now we have 3 tongues: our standard tongue, our accent tongue, our staccato tongue. So there's 12 notes, all on quarter notes. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and. The next one is marcato. Okay, a heavy accent is how I define it. Okay, just a bit more weight. Just a bit more weighted sound on an accent, and a little bit more detachment than an accent. Okay? Ready? And 1, 2, 4 quarter notes, and. Not too much space. We're playing quarter notes, so we want a little bit more value. 1, 2, ready, and. All right? So we have 4 tongues now: standard, accent, Staccato, Marcato. Ready? 1, 2, ready? Stand it. And as much as possible, just train the kids to be as consistent as possible, The tongue can go out of control, which sends the tone out of control, which sends the pitch and the clarity and the intonation completely out of control. Anything else would be a slur. You know what a slur is, all right? Attack the first note of the slur, or tongue the first note of the slur. Everything else is connected by air. When you have a brand new slur group, you re-articulate. Once in a while, you got to remind them. They can see all these different slur groups, and they play one long slur across the page. I just simply take a pencil, put a T on the first note of the slur group. Brings it to their attention, and it works every single time, all right? So when they start to understand, or when they start to commit to playing good articulation, then you introduce them to a good march, and you talk about them all the way through. In a good march, whether they have the articulations written, or whether you have to go through and write them yourself, you can do so just so you can get all of those colors and nuances through the march by the use of the correct tone. And everything else, of course, is tone and clarity. So let's play just a little of Coast Guard March. We'll close out with Esprit de Corps.